Hi and welcome back to another card making video. Now Simon Says Stamp has just released a new collection. Awesome products, just like always. You will find something for everyone, but for this video I'm focusing on only one product. It wasn't an easy decision, but this is what goes into my top favorites from this release. It is an embossing folder and cutting die in one product, and this is called Pine Landscape. I find that this is a great set that you can use to create cards that you can easily mass produce. Today I'm going to share 3 different designs, all clean and simple, super easy to mass produce, so that you can make the most out of this set. I'm starting with a panel that is navy blue, and I'm just going to add some white splatters. Lately I like to use a calligraphy ink. I find it super easy to just dip my brush in there and add the splatters. If you don't have something like that, just use your white watercolor. You can dilute acrylic paint with water. Just add the splatters there, and they are going to read as snow later on for our background. Now I'm using the die and I'm going to cut out the row of trees. Just run it through your die cutting machine, and if you like you can do it twice so that you end up with 2 rows of trees that you can layer to add dimension. Now I'm grabbing the embossing folder. This is perfectly matching with the die. I'm going to lay on top my cardstock and it kind of falls into the grooves. I'm going to secure it down with a piece of low tack masking tape, and then I will run it through my die cutting machine. And you end up with the row of trees which is embossed with lots of dimension for you, and hopefully you can see the details. So all you have to do is to just stick these rows of trees on top of your background and you are good to go. I'm just going to show you here one extra step. If you like to do some layering, just cut out one more layer of trees and stick one on top of the other. If you don't want them to look as if they are overlapping too much, you can just turn around some of the trees or cut them out and stick them in different positions. Just switch them up a little bit so that they don't look alike. Also, to help those layers pop even more, I'm going to use foam tape on the front layer, and for the trees at the back row I'm just going to stick them with glue. These are going to lay flat directly on top of my background. I'm making sure also that I stick them in different heights so that they add some extra dimension there, and then the whole thing is going to go on top of my background. Of course, if you want to mass produce this card and to make the steps even less, then all you have to do is to just use one layer of the trees. You don't need to add the extra ones. Really easy to put together, and you can make tons of cards in no time. Now for the sentiment, you can either stamp one directly on top of your white areas. That's what I'm doing here, and I went with blue navy ink so that it matches with the background, or you can just die cut something and stick it on top, whatever works here. Here are some close-up photos on the first card. And then let's move on to a second card, again a variation of the first design, but this time to make it more special, but even easier, I'm going to use this glitter LUXE glitter paper. This is from the new collection by Simon Says Stamp, a really stunning cardstock, and I'm just cutting out the row of trees. You can just stick it down, add a sentiment, and you are good to go. If you want more contrast, you can go on a darker cardstock. And if you want to take it a step further, you can use an embossing folder to emboss the background. For that I went with one embossing folder that I have, which is full of snowflakes. This is from an older Simon Says Stamp release. If it is still available, I will make sure to link it down below. It's definitely one of my favorites since it is really versatile, both for any winter card as well as for Christmas cards. So I'm going to stick that row of trees down on my background, again using some foam tape to help me add some dimension. Add a sentiment, and really it doesn't get any easier than that. Notice that I went with a navy blue card base just to help it pop a little bit more. And let's move on to the third and last card for today. This time I cut out the row of trees and did emboss it on dark green cardstock. With my Versamark ink, I went over the tips of the mountains very lightly, and now I'm going to apply white embossing powder. This is going to stick only on the mountains of those embossed areas, and it's going to give the look of snow falling on top of the trees. I'm using my heat gun to make sure that the embossing powder is melted. I'm going to use only 2 of the trees for this card, but I went ahead and did the other trees so that I can recreate the same card if I need to. Just like I did on one of the previous cards, if you want, you can layer the trees one on top of the other to add dimension. For this card, I'm choosing to go completely flat, so I'm just going to use glue. Stick it on my panel, and then on top I'm going to add another cardstock that I had cut out in an angle to give the look of a snow slope, and I do have foam tape underneath. Now for the little panel, I did ink it up with blue only at the top just to get that ombre look for my background. Now you can add some snow if you like, either by adding some splatters or by using your white gel pen. You can either add white pearls like I'm doing here, you can go with gems, and then just stick this panel with foam tape on top of your card base. I went with a white card base, and here are some close-up photos on all the 3 cards that I made for today. Links to everything I used can be found down below in the description, as well as on my blog. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired, and I'll see you all next time.